Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Read from Bhagavad-Gita, 7th chapter, text 5. Apareyam tidastvanyam prakritim vidime param jiva buddha mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat. Apara, inferior. Iyam, this. Ita, besides this. Tu, but. Anyam, another. Prakritim, energy. Vidhi, just try to understand. Me, my. Param, superior. Jiva Bhutam, comprising the living entities. Mahabaho, Almighty Armed One. Ya, by whom? Idam, this. Taryate, it is utilized or exploited. Jagat, the material world. Translation, purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Besides this, Almighty Armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mind which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. Purport. Here it is clearly mentioned that living entities belong to the superior nature or energy of the Supreme Lord. The inferior energy is matter manifested in different elements, namely earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Both forms of material nature, namely gross, earth, etc., and the subtle mind, etc., are products of the inferior energy. The living entities who are exploiting these inferior energies for different purposes are the superior energy of the Supreme Lord, and it is due to this energy that the entire material world functions. The cosmic manifestation has no power to act unless it is moved by the superior energy, the living entity. Energies are always controlled by the energetic, and therefore the living entities are always controlled by the Lord. They have no independent existence. They are never equally powerful as unintelligent men think. The distinction between the living entities and the Lord is described in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:87-30 as follows. This is by the Vedas personified prayer. Aparimita druvas tanuprito yati sarvakatas tarhi na shashyate tinyamo dhruvanetarata achani chayanmayam tat avimuchya nyantra bhavet samam anuchanatam yat amatam matatushtataya. O Supreme, Eternal, if the embodied living entities were eternal and all-pervading like you, then they would not be under your control. But if the living entities are accepted as minute energies of your Lordship, then they are at once subject to your supreme control. Therefore, real liberation entails surrender by the living entities to your control, and that surrender will make them happy. In that constitutional position only can they be controllers. Therefore, men with limited knowledge who advocate the monistic theory that God and the living entities are equal in all respects are actually guided by a faulty and polluted opinion. The Supreme Lord Krishna is the only controller, and all living entities are controlled by him. These living entities are his superior energy because the quality of their existence is one and the same with the Supreme, but they are never equal to the Lord in quantity or of power. While exploiting the gross and subtle inferior energy, matter, the superior energy, the living entity, forgets his real spiritual mind and intelligence. This forgetfulness is due to the influence of matter upon the living entity. But when the living entity becomes freed from the influence of the illusory material energy, he attains the stage called mukti, or liberation. The false ego, under the influence of material illusion, thinks, I am matter, and material acquisitions are mine. His actual position is realized when he is liberated from all material ideas, including the conception of his becoming one in all respects with God. Therefore, one may conclude that the Gita confirms the living entity to be only one of the multi-energies of Krishna, and when this energy is freed from material contamination, it becomes fully Krishna conscious or liberated. Apareya mitastvanyam prakritim vidime param Jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat. The verse before, we also read that we have some connection. Bhumir apo nalo vayu kamano buddhir evacha ahankara itiya me bina prakritir astadha. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and the false ego. Altogether, these 8 constitutes my separated material energies. Apareya mitastanvyam prakritim vidime param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat. Besides this, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is another superior energy of mine, which comprises the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. Om Agyatimranya Syakana Chana Zalakayam Chakshuru Unmilitam Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha. Hare Krishna. So this 7th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita is entitled Knowledge about the Supreme. Huh? Knowledge about the Absolute. In Sanskrit, you know? Huh? How is it in Sanskrit, the title? Vijnana Yoga. Vijnana, that means realization. Before that, on the 4th and the 5th chapter, we have Jnana Yoga. The 3rd chapter is Karma Yoga. And this chapter now is called Vijnana Yoga. That means yoga with the Supreme. Yoga always means connection with the Supreme, not just bodily exercises. That's wrongly understood nowadays. That yoga, it's very popular yoga, but mostly they bring it together in exercise, asana. Different, and then you see in the TV and in the books all these very special gymnastics performances, and you are impressed. You know, would like to become such an yogi. And then a little breathing exercises, pranayama, like that. So, but actually, this asana and pranayama, it's only a beginning stage, because the body is like a vessel. It's like I would say like a jar made of earth, of clay, clay pot. So it's a clay pot filled up with so many ingredients. So many dhatus are inside: bones, muscles, blood, fat, mucus, air, water. Actually, all these elements are based on earth, water, fire, air, and ether. The whole body is filled of these material elements. Actually, the whole material world is filled of these material elements. And because the material body is a creation of the Prakriti, the inferior energy of the Lord, because it has the same elements in the cosmic manifestation and in the individual body, even of an ant, or a dog, or a cat, or a bird, or a fish. All of them have the same elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. This is the gross body, and there is a subtle body. Actually, where the living entity, the jiva, the living entity, is encaged in two bodies: gross body and subtle body. Subtle body is the mind, intelligence, and the false ego. So now in yoga, one tries to balance the physical elements, because many times, due to wrong lifestyle, the body becomes disturbed. Therefore, different diseases become manifested due to the agitation of kapha, pitta, and vata. These are the three basic main elements. Kapha comes from earth, pitta comes from fire, and what is the other one? Vata comes from the ether or air. So in this way, we can see these kapha, pitta, vata. These are their manifestations, their transformations of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And this whole body is actually composed of these three elements: kapha, pitta, and vata. And if these three elements become disturbed due to stress and wrong living habits, wrong time to go to sleep, wrong things to eat, not drinking enough, or I would say have too much stress, too much anxieties or fears, then automatically this gross body, these elements become disturbed. And then the subtle body become disturbed, because then the subtle body cannot fix in concentration on even on material goals, not to speak on spiritual goals. Therefore, the yogi, he tries to balance these elements, kapha, pitta, vata, with the purpose so that the subtle body also become pacified, and that there is a harmony, so that the yogi can fix his mind peacefully, without disturbances of the material elements, on the Supreme Lord, or Brahman, at least impersonal. There are three aspects he can meditate: either in impersonal form, Brahman, or in the Paramatma in the heart, or then the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his Bhagavan aspect. That's the supreme perfection. Because in this Bhagavan aspect, all other aspects, Paramatma and Brahman, are included. So in yoga, in all the yoga practices, we learn how to link or concentrate our mind on the Supreme Lord, because that is the is that what has no beginning and no end. The material nature of the material world and the material bodies, even from Brahma down to the insect, they are changeable, have to go through different transformations. We have to take birth, we grow for some time, we have some byproducts, we're getting old, we become diseased, and we die. So therefore the whole body has to go through these changes. But the Supreme Lord don't have to go through these changes, and the living entity, who is an eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, the Jiva Tattva, also doesn't have to go through the changes of birth, old age, disease, and death, and the byproducts of the material world. Therefore, the living entity can never be the Supreme, because the Supreme is one, and He's the controller. Here it is pointed out by the Bhagavatam verse from the Shrutis, from the Vedas personified, that the Jiva is not possible that it can be the Supreme, because the Jiva is not, I would say, present everywhere. Although Bhagavad-Gita says Sarvagataha, the living entity are everywhere, but that doesn't mean that one living entity is everywhere. There are many living entities everywhere. There are uncountable living entities who are everywhere, in the earth element, in the water element, in the ether element, in the fire element, in all the elements. They're spirit souls. And the spirit soul always remains individual, and it is never created. It is never created, because if the living entity will be a creation of the Lord, that means the Lord would also be subjected to the changes of having byproducts, growing up, and getting old and die. But that's not happen. So that means the Supreme Lord always remains the same, and the living entity always remains the same. This is the Vedic conclusion or teachings of Shruti and the Smriti and the Puranas. There are so many statements in the scriptures where it is described that the living entity is always eternal, and it is never born, and therefore never dies, and never gets old. And never has to go through transformation. What actually transforms is the material nature, these material elements. But due to contact since time immemorial with the material energy, the Jiva becomes covered by avidya, by ignorance. Now the Mayavadis, they say, impersonalists, Vedantists, they say the living entity is actually all one. And somehow or other it became covered by this avidya, by ignorance, and therefore he thinks himself, now I'm this, I'm that, and this, that I'm now separated from the Absolute. But if this ignorance is removed, then automatically living entity become one again and will merge in the Absolute. Purna becomes complete. But we hear the complete always remains complete. Purnam adaya. The Om Purnam ada Purnam idam. Purnam udachyate. Ishopanishad. In the invocation verse, it is stated that the absolute truth, the Supreme Lord, always remains one. Although so many energies are coming from Him, emanating from Him, He still remains the same. And the living entities always remain the same, but is independent. It's I would say dependent on the Lord. But as soon we come in contact with the material nature, we're forgetting our dependence on the Lord as an eternal servant or part and parcel of the Lord, and consider ourselves we are the controller and Purusha enjoyers. Because living entity is Purusha. Mother, you should not chant when during class. Although you were in Japa retreat, I know. So, unless you are a Siddha, you cannot stop to chant. But otherwise, you should give attention on. So the jiva. What is the point? The jiva never. Remember, Bala. You're my writer.
We forgot our origin.
Yeah, we forget our origin and become. We consider ourselves according to our consciousness, insect, a tree, a plant, and a bird, or a human being. In the Bhagavatam, in the 5th canto, and also in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the evolution of consciousness is actually of the soul is explained. How the consciousness of the soul, according to karma, becomes developed and ultimately come to the human form of life. And even in the human form of life, we have different stages. Those who are, not cultured, uneducated, who don't have a proper conduct and culture of civilization. And then those who are more developed in consciousness, who can study the scriptures, they are better. And if and those who study the scriptures, if they become Brahmana or understand the Supreme Brahman, they are better. And the best is those who understand or realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead by becoming Vaishnava, a devotee of Vishnu. Actually, there are uncountable living entities. 3/4 always remain in the spiritual world as a servant of the Lord in harmony in yoga. Only 1/4, and there's quite a lot still, as we can see, so many uncountable living entities, they are now separated themselves by joining the illusory energy, the Maya. Although Maya itself has no happiness, it has no consciousness, it is only a field for activities for the living entities. But the living entity in illusion, he takes shelter in this Maya, in this unconsciousness, and tries to become happy by exploiting the material energy as described in this verse. It tries to exploit and to control this material energy. Although this is not possible, since time immemorial, people want to control the material energy, but in the end, the material energy destroys them. Even if you're a big president or a big controller or scientist or whatever, everyone has to change the body. That means we are defeated. One of the symptoms of material energy is defeat, parabhava. Parabhava yavada bodhachata. Yavanya jigyasata atma tattvam. Because we're a living entity who has no knowledge about the Atma, the soul, in truth, becomes defeated by engaging in the material activities, by manipulating this material nature, these 5 elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, were combined together, were transformed. And sometimes it's successful, and sometimes it's a failure. But ultimately it is a defeat, because we have to change the body, we have to give up the body we identify so much, and according to our consciousness have to accept another body. But Krishna says, those who are fixing their mind on me, who understand me and my higher nature, and our relationship also as higher, our identity in higher nature as Jiva Bhuta, as living entity, eternal servant of the Lord, and acting this direction, we are liberated. Then the Lord will take care. So this surrendering process of the Jiva is possible only through bhakti. In no other yoga process is a surrendering process. Everyone still thinks I'm the controller, I'm the doer. But the bhakta, the devotee, he understands, I'm the servant, and Krishna is the doer, Krishna is the enjoyer. Let me serve him according to my capacity. Srila Prabhupada in today's verse words in the morning, he says, I can see Krishna. Others cannot see Krishna. Therefore, therefore they have to come to me. That means they have to contact the spiritual master, the Acharya, and the Acharya is giving them the eyesight. Like if you have cataract, then you have to go to the doctor to remove the cataract. As long as you have cataract, your eyesight is disturbed, right? Even you can become blind. And if you ignore it, you can completely blind. So you go to the doctor, eye doctor, and he removes the cataract. It's very easy nowadays if you check it early enough that your vision is disturbed. So you go to the person who knows how to remove this, who has the eyesight, how to remove this cataract, this covering of the eye. And if this covering of the eye, this cataract is removed, then you can see gradually your eyesight comes back to normal. The normal stage that we can see God eye to eye and have a relationship with Him. But this is now disturbed due to our cataract, the covering of Maya, material energy. This is our disease. And therefore we cannot see. But the Acharya can see. Acharya man Purusha Veda, because he has the proper sight to see the absolute truth. He sees Krishna. Like Prabhupada told in Mayapur when they had small Radha Madhava deities. You know how big they are, Radha Madhava in Mayapur? Not the big ones now, the small ones. Who has seen them? A little bigger. Maybe from distance like that, or maybe this size here, this. In America, there's another set of them, in two places. One in Boston, and the other one is in Gitanagari. Gitanagari. This is the second set. And the set Prabhupada brought to India, Radha Madhava, the small ones. So, and there was only a very small temple, long, and maybe as broad as this here, and a little long. Not the temple we have now there. And the deities were on this side, and the Prabhupada's Vyasa-san was on that side, completely opposite. So quite a distance, maybe. I don't know, I'm difficult to say, 40 meters. No. And the devotee saw the Prabhupada is older man, his guru, but he's older man. Maybe it's better we put the Vyasa-san directly on the side of the deity, more near to the altar, so that the Prabhupada could see Krishna better. And then, but then when they asked Prabhupada, then they told, no, they don't have to do that. Leave the Vyasa-san there, opposite, because there's no difference between me, Krishna and me, in distance, That means the Prabhupada always saw Krishna. He's Krishna's man, So he's always acting on the Krishna's direction. Like Prabhupada mentioned also, I didn't write these books myself. They were dictated to me by Krishna. And this is actually the proper attitude of a devotee. A devotee makes himself always dependent on Krishna, like Kaviraj Goswami. The last few days I read many of these verses of Kaviraj Goswami. And I was sent some also to the devotees of these quotes, how humble he was, and how when he got this order from the superior, from the Vaishnavas, to write this Chaitanya Charitamrita about Lord Chaitanya's life, he felt himself unable to do himself on his own. with his own power and intelligence. So he approached Madan Mohan here, Madan Gopal, Madan Mohan temple in Tvatashatita Tila on the Yamuna here. Madan Mohan, he visited that temple, and also Govinda Dev. His Kaviraj Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami said, Govinda, I consider Madan Mohan is our Kula Thakurji, Kula Thakur, and that means Kula deity. It's our family deity, because it's from Sanatana Goswami, and Govinda Dev from Srila Rupa Goswami installed. And they worshipped and established the worship of Govinda Dev and of Madan Mohan. Actually, these two deities plus Radha Gopinath here in Vrindavan, they're the three main deities most worshipable of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he went to each and every of these deities to ask for blessings. Ask blessings so that he could write this great book, the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And when he offered his obeisances, his dandavat in front of Madan Mohan, garland dropped down. Garland dropped down. And the Pujari, he brought the garland, he offered it to Kaviraj Goswami. And the elder devotees, they were jubilant, Haribol, Hare Krishna. They were so happy because it meant the empowerment, the improvement of the Lord for the Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's great mission to write the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Then he also went to all the Vaishnavas to get the blessings of them. And he says, like a dog is known as not a good swimmer. You can see a dog can swim a little distance in the sea or in a river, but then he immediately has to go back. He cannot cross a river or an ocean. But Kaviraj Goswami said, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, even a dog can cross the ocean of nations. That means this world of ignorance, of avidya, who is a big ocean, by taking shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if one takes shelter in the superior authority of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the previous acharyas and our own guru and spiritual master, they're all our well-wishers, then impossible thing can be possible. Like Prabhupada said, the word impossible is not in Vaishnava dictionary. There's nothing impossible. Materially, so many things are impossible, but spiritually there's nothing impossible. In Bhagavatam and in Vedic literature, we don't find the word impossible, because by the mercy of the Lord, the impossible become possible. And if we don't have the mercy, then even the possible will become impossible. So, in the same way, also to realize ourselves, to come out of ignorance, of this material conditioning, to come to higher consciousness from the body, I would say like a flower. You know, a flower in the beginning is not a flower; it's just a seed. Then it becomes some plant, and then a little. I would say, how we call this in English? Bud. Huh? Bud. A little bud appears, and then this bud with the time opens slightly, and then it opens more, and then fully opens. And if you want to see how it opens, not possible. You can observe a plant how it opens. With your own eyes, you cannot see it. But it gradually, the plant grows up by the watering process of the bhakti plants. and by devotional service, and by developing this higher consciousness, gradually this plant of consciousness grows more and more, and becomes it develops a beautiful fragrance. So consciousness has different stages. The lower stages, it's like shrink consciousness. It's like in the bud stage. But only in the human form of life we can develop the flowering stage, blossoming stage of a flower with a beautiful smell. That's only possible in human form of life. And therefore Lord Chaitanya, he told to Rupa Goswami, Brahmande Brahmite Kone Bhagavana Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai, Bhakti Lata Beach. If after many, many lifetimes of wandering from one body to another, in this Brahmanda can mean all the universes in this material world, manifested by the different Brahmas, or a Brahmanda, Prabhupada says, can also mean one universe of one Brahma, because there are living entities in uncountable universes of Brahma, and also in this world of Brahma there are uncountable living entities who are all eternally related and manifested by the Supreme Lord. They actually belong to Him, but now we think we belong to the material nature. We are a creation of the material nature. We are manifested by material nature, and that we have a beginning and also have an end. This is the ignorance, and this ignorance the Guru is destroying with his sharp sword of knowledge. He removes this our bondage, our attachments, our covering of material existence, and gives us the proper sight so that we can see the Lord. Actually, as soon as you have the proper sight, the divine vision, we can see the Lord. There is no distance for every living entity. This opportunity is there, because now we can only see the Maya world, because our eyes are trained like that. But as soon we learn, our senses become purified, and we learn how to see proper, then we can see the spiritual world. We can see Krishna's transcendental form. In the beginning, we learn how to worship the deity, the Lord, who took the form, accepted the form made of earth or of stone or metal or painting, and we worship Him. Because the Lord is this material energy is also His energy, and therefore, if this material energy is engaged in Krishna's service, it becomes also spiritualized. Mayavadis want to reject the material world, say this is Maya, but the devotee understands, it is maybe Maya, it's ignorance, it's covering, but I can engage it in Krishna's service, I can engage it in the mission. Therefore, devotee, under the guidance of the Acharya, who has proper vision and understanding and sight, we can learn how to engage things properly in the service of Krishna. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagya Uchate. This is the real Vairagya or renunciation, by engaging the material energy in Krishna's service. Those who enjoy the material energy, they are blunderers, they are thieves. Those who are rejected, they are foolish, because it is something very valuable also, like gold. Gold is also material, it's Maya, it's Kali. So there are those who take it on themselves, so they are thieves, because they take the Lord's opulences and energy for their own sense gratification, and then those who are rejected and say this is all Maya, both are foolish. Those who are take it and those who reject. So therefore the devotee under the Acharya, under Srila Prabhupada will learn, how to accept things in the service of Krishna. And by engaging the things in the service of Krishna, everything becomes spiritualized. Therefore we're doing all these different kinds of services in the temple, or going on Sankirtan, or collecting money, and building houses or temples, or having cars, like that. So it's all material energy, but because we are engaging it in the service of Krishna, we are doing something for the pleasure of Krishna, it becomes spiritualized. And in this way we are learn how to act on the liberated platform, even with the material body. Not just by meditation, but by action. So like his marathon time now, Prabhupada marathon time, so all the devotees are going out and giving so many hours of their daytime where they normally engage in other things, in the mission of distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. And it is such a nectarian service that because you directly holding Prabhupada's books and the previous Acharya's words, and the books were not different from Krishna in your hand, you carry them, you speak about them, you give them to someone else. And so in this way, people, you yourself and the person who comes in contact with them become spiritualized, the place becomes spiritualized, the donation given is spiritualized. So by giving this knowledge of Krishna consciousness in form of the books, this is considered the greatest welfare work. It's called the Prihatmadanga, loud kirtan, because everyone can hear it, even those who cannot hear the kirtan immediately nearby or hear a lecture, they can hear Srila Prabhupada and the previous Acharya's words and the Supreme Lord's own words in the Bhagavad-Gita in form of books. Therefore book distribution, Prabhupada, he told this is the best kind of preaching and best activity, because all your senses are engaged in transcendental devotional service. Your body, your hands, your legs, your mouth, your eyes, your ears, your nose, everything, your feeling, your intuition, everything is concentrated on this same mission, on this transcendental mission. Your mind, your intelligence, your ego, to identify yourself with this mission. This is ego proper, this is not false ego then, it's right ego, because you are considering yourself a servant in the Sankirtan mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and of the previous Acharyas. Be a humble servant. We are not controllers, we are not enjoyers. Like Kaviraj Goswami, he prays only to be a servant of these Goswamis and become instruments in their hands. I'm unable to do anything on my own, but by their mercy, everything will be possible. So the mission is impossible, but it becomes possible by surrendering and by accepting faithfully the words from the Acharya, the instruction, without deviation, and by embracing it, by accepting this service, one feels very happy. One becomes we feel liberated. Because you're only you, the person to whom you give the book. That means your super soul, his super soul. That's all what you see, what you are in contact. You go from soul to soul, and by this meditation to help others, to bring others in relation with Krishna, because they have all forgotten it. the super soul is responding and links us and connects us with the interested people who will take a book. So it's a very transcendental process, and it's beneficial for us and for others, and it's very pleasing to Srila Prabhupada and all the previous acharyas, and especially also Lord Chaitanya, the Yagya Purusha for his age. So if we can please him, the supreme enjoyer, the Lord, and his devotees, then we will also be happy and pleased, without extra endeavor to enjoy ourselves, because there's anyway no enjoyment. We cannot enjoy a dead body. Matter is dead, it's lifeless. We cannot. Therefore, there is no real enjoyment. There is no ananda in the prakriti, in the apara prakriti. But the living entity has a tendency or a nature for ananda. But we can only realize it and experience it in devotional service to the Supreme Lord, who is the reservoir of all ananda and of all transcendental qualities and perfections. Hare Krishna. Any question maybe? Yeah?
Thank you for one class.
No.
Actually,
Short especially. Yeah?
What is nice? Actually, I want to ask you one question which I already have in my mind. We hear that we cannot see Krishna because we are covered, so much cover, our eyes is covered, and because of this we cannot see Krishna also. But my question is, what is this beauty in this temple? Balaram, Krishna, Radha Sundar, what is this? How we can see this? This is some stone, or this is just ornaments, or this is, what is this, what we see?
This is Krishna. This is Krishna direct. The deities are not different from Krishna. Like the holy name. We were now in Japa retreat, what you always heard every day. The holy name is not different from Krishna. You heard? Was it told? And that the Lord is dancing on your tongue?
Not on mine, maybe on yours.
No, but you heard it?
I tried.
You heard that? So the Lord is dancing on the tongue, the holy name, when you chant, like Rupa Goswami, then you wish hundreds and thousands of mouths. So it is also sound. And sound, you can say it's material, but because it's the holy name, it is transcendental sound. What is material and what is spiritual? That is the big question, philosophical question. The answer is, actually everything is spiritual. It's a question of consciousness. Because this material energy is also the Lord's energy, but it's now apara prakriti. It is engaged in ignorance activities of karma of the living entity. But if the living entity on the liberated platform of activity, that means bhakti-yoga or bhakti activities, is engaged in that way, then this material energy will turn into spirit, because the spirit is everywhere. In every atom are living entities, and and next to the living entity is a super soul. So everyone accepts that God is everywhere. Everywhere, it's the spiritual energy of the Lord, and this energy is not different from the Lord. And therefore, if an artist who have the proper vision according to Shastra of the Vedas, how to make a sculpture of a deity, and that's authorized. It's not a mental speculation of somebody. He makes this on the guidelines of Shastra and also of meditation, the pure meditation of the artist who is a devotee. Like for example, Lord Jagannath. Lord Jagannath is made of wood. Daru Brahman. He appeared on the ocean to King Indradumna. There's a higher plan of the Lord that he will come in form of wood. But Lord Chaitanya said, in the Kali Yuga, the Lord is worshipped in two forms, in form of wood and in form of water. What is wood? Jagannath. That means a deity made of wood. And what is water? Ganga water. Ganga, Ganges. These two are the Lord is manifested in Kali, besides of the holy name, of course, and the Srimad Bhagavatam, but just in the natural form, because the holy name is completely Goloka. Harinam Sankirtan is coming from Goloka. So Srimad Bhagavatam is revealed by the great sage and avatar Srila Vyasadeva, who is literary incarnation of the Lord, to write Srimad Bhagavatam and all the Puranas and Mahabharata. So these are transcendental creations, but just by the material elements, that means wood and water. Wood is earth, and water is water. Air, water, air, earth, water, air, ether, like that. There are 5 elements. So the Lord manifests in these 2 elements in Kali Yuga, in form of wood as Jagannath, or the deity form, and in the form of water of Ganga, to purify the whole universe, the whole world. It's Jagannath. He purifies the whole universe. He's not the Lord of Orissa. He's the Lord of the whole universe. Jagannath. So that Lord, although he is manifested of wood, and one artist, architect of the demigods, what's his name? Vishvakarma. He appeared as a man. Some say the Lord himself came as the artist, with the condition to the king, give me 21 days, I will make a murti, a deity. But then the king became impatient after 14 days, and he opened the door, and then the artist disappeared. Therefore the deity was only half finished. But then Narad Muni appeared, and he told the king the history of this deity is that the deity is actually you should not reject it and feel now condemned and commit suicide, because now the deity is not manifested, because that's the plan of the Lord. Even if the deity is not completely manifested in its feature, it is worshipable. Narad Muni, he tells to Gop Kumar that even if you have the proper consciousness, you can even see the Lord in a piece of a grass and can worship him there. But to speak in the form of wood or water, like Ganga, who is emanating from Lord Vishnu's lotus feet, Vishnu Padi. So they are worshipable, but the Lord, that's how the Lord is revealing himself in so many murtis, in so many vigrahas, forms of stone and metal and wood, to give the different personalities in the different parts of the universe the opportunity to serve him. Because we don't have eyesight to see him now with material eyes, so the Lord, he makes himself visible in form of these material elements so that we can see him. And also in this 7th chapter, Krishna explains how we can see him by the taste of water. We can see him, and so on. So he gives different ways, ideas, how we can actually realize Krishna or become Krishna conscious, even by not being in the transcendental platform. So now we are not in the transcendental platform, but the Acharya is on the transcendental platform. The scriptures are on the transcendental platform. The previous sages, Vedic sages and Acharyas, they are on the transcendental platform. And they give us this plan and this direction, this Tantra, Vaishnava Tantra, how to worship the Lord, even with our material senses, with our material material elements, so that we can see Him and become trained in that way to see the Lord and worship the Lord. And in this way, our senses become purified, become spiritualized, and then with the spiritualized senses, you will realize with the time, oh, this is not just a deity made of wood, it is the Lord Himself. This Hare Krishna Mahamantra is not only a sound vibration, like a pop song, or a Schlager from the Adria side, So it is the holy name, not different from Krishna. It's Krishna Himself. Oh, the Srimad Bhagavatam is also Krishna Himself. Now you maybe don't realize it. With the time, if you go on with this process, you can gradually more and more realize and see Krishna in it, in everything. And in this way, develop attachment to it. So bhakti-yoga, you see, it's so wonderful. Even on the material platform, you can be fully Krishna conscious and attain Krishna. Like Prabhupada also says, even if you give up your body, although in the whole life maybe you were not so much Krishna conscious, but in the last moment you're Krishna conscious, you go to Krishna and become one of His associates. So it's a training. For now we are training, we have opportunity to train all our senses in seeing Krishna with the material elements and with sound vibration. And gradually you become more and more purified by it, and you see this is Krishna. And then your avidya will completely remove. It gradually removes more and more, but then ultimately, if you realize Krishna at that point, it completely removes. You agree with it? Huh? It's clear? More or less? Some other question?
In between Manusha and also very difficult to understand. Out of many thousands, when one man develops of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one was truth. Then he is beginning to tell this. So how they are all like the thread, how it is going.
Yeah, because Krishna speaks for everyone, for all kinds of people, or consciousness, or understandings. To benefit ultimately everyone, and he says normally even amongst the yogis and the sages, very rarely one is surrendering unto him, because they try to understand him, realizing through knowledge, through Vedic studies, through yagya, sacrifices, like that, by different processes, philosophies, Nyaya and Sankhya, like that. So that yoga, mystical yoga processes, but they are all empiric. Nobody of them surrenders to Krishna. Or those who are fruitive workers, who think, because in the Shastra states, if you are engaging 100 lifetime in Varnashram activities, performing your duties, you attain position of Brahma. And if you more than 100 lifetime varnashram duties, you can attain Shiva Loka, but you're still not liberated. That shows by varnashram and by karma yoga we cannot become liberated. It can maybe help you to come, to be properly situated and to engage, not doing nonsense, so that ultimately you come to jnana, to knowledge. But amongst those who are coming to knowledge, only under thousands of millions somebody becomes a devotee of Krishna. Vasudev Savamiti Samahatma Sadurlabha. Such a person is then very rare. And he's a real Mahatma. Not those who try to use politics and things for material purposes, or even scriptures or mantra for material purposes. They're actually not Mahatma. So our acharyas, they gave us a mission how everyone can become benefited, liberated or not liberated.
Some people, they can take bhakti very soon, some people even like
yeah.
So why is that, like that Sukriti, that's also like devotional of our previous, like how the Janmaishwaryas with us reveal anything good position we get.
It's anyway, it's not in our hands. When Prabhupada came to the West, he didn't know, should I go left, should I go right, what will be the result. They even invited him to go back. He even thought about it, maybe I should return. But because he was so much faithful to the instruction of his spiritual master, and of Lord Chaitanya's mission, so he stick to it. Although in the beginning months or the first years were tough. He almost didn't practically was no result, But then, because Krishna was so, Krishna was guiding him, and ultimately, when the time was ready, he sent the first helpers, who joined Prabhupada and helped him, like Mukunda Goswami and others, who were Brahmananda and all those first great heroes. Devotees, they joined Srila Prabhupada and helped him in so many ways to get the first temple and books printed and produced and distributed. But it was not, this didn't come from one day to another, although Prabhupada was Acharya. But he was not, rubber stamped Acharya, so now surrender to me, or here I am. So I can manipulate everything, I have the power. So he himself went through struggle. And that shows even great Acharya going through struggles, but ultimately become successful. Because they're humble and they're very determined and surrendered. Others have these same qualities, but for their own self-enlightenment, for yoga perfections and like that. But Srila Prabhupada, he did it for pleasing his guru and doing something very good for the whole world. Yeah. By giving them Krishna consciousness. So he risked something. Prabhupada many times told we should burn our body in the fire of Sankirtan. It's a yagya. So many of us, we're burned the body. Where is our young body now? So it's burned in the Sankirtan. It's gone. So the years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. The same time span of 40 years, you can also engage in Maya, sense gratification, and burn the body in lust, and take birth again. But in this way, by burning the body in the service of the Sankirtan mission, you're liberated. because you act on the liberated platform, not in the Maya platform. And for this mission, Prabhupada told this mission is so important. If we would realize the importance of this mission, would immediately not sitting around and wasting our time, even a moment. You would use any time to give this knowledge to others in one way or another. He told us like a forest fire. So many living entities burning in this forest fire of material existence. So, but the spiritual master, he sends these clouds, and he pours down the rain in form of his transcendental words and in form of books and the holy name and instructions, and so in this way the forest fire will become extinguished. So we should assist and help Srila Prabhupada in helping him to give out this mission to even save one conditioned soul. Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj told, even if one Madhyam Adhikari will come out of this Sankirtan of my mission, of Gaudiya Math, I consider my mission successful. One Madhyama. Because one Madhyama, he can make other devotees. A Kanishna cannot make other devotees. So one Madhyama will be sufficient. So we are not so much into the quantity. Prabhupada he didn't know how many devotees will join him and help him, and how much it will spread. He himself was surprised. What happened? So many temples, so many devotees came, so many books printed and distributed. And then Prabhupada was crying sometimes, and they thought, this is all only mercy of my Guru Maharaj. He made this arrangement. So yeah, we have to be humble and make humble endeavor, and the result is not in our hands. It can be small or big. For Krishna, it doesn't matter. He sees your endeavor. Okay, stop here. Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Praise Prabhupada.